You know that feeling, right? You pick up your phone just to check one little thing, and then you look up, and a whole hour has just vanished. If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. We're going to dive into this world of brain hacking, the intentional psychological tricks used to design our phones and apps to grab our attention and, well, never let it go. And this quote from a Reddit user it nails it, doesn't it? It's that creepy feeling of losing control, where our devices stop feeling like tools we use and start feeling like things that use us, pulling us in whether we want them to or not. So here's the big question. Is this all just an accident? Is our inability to look away just some weird side effect of amazing technology? Or is there something way more deliberate going on behind the screen? Well, if you ask the people who actually built this stuff, the insiders from places like Google, they'll tell you it is 100% by design. They even have a name for it, brain hacking. It's all about using the principles of human psychology to build products that aren't just fun to use, but are literally designed to be addictive. Okay, so how in the world do they actually do it? Let's get into the nitty-gritty and take a look at the psychological playbook they're using to tap directly into our brains. It all starts with this one little chemical, dopamine. You've probably heard it called the feel-good chemical, but that's not quite right. It's really the go-get-it chemical. It's what drives you to seek things out. It's the engine of desire. It's what nature gave us to hunt for food and find a partner. But tech companies have figured out how to hijack it for their own purposes. And this is where it gets really fascinating. See, our brain has two different systems running. You've got the wanting circuit, which is fueled by all that dopamine. It's a beast. It's what keeps you scrolling and searching. Then you have the liking circuit, the part that actually gives you a sense of satisfaction. And here's the kicker. The wanting circuit is way, way more powerful than the liking one. That's the mismatch, right? That's why the endless hunt feels so much more compelling than anything you actually find. Which leads us to what you could call the digital slot machine. It's a classic trick, really. The reason a slot machine in Vegas is so addictive is because the reward is unpredictable. You never know when you're going to hit the jackpot. Your phone works the exact same way. The next swipe could be a hilarious video, an important email, a message from a friend, or it could be nothing. It's that maybe, that unpredictability that keeps you pulling the lever again and again. So let's look at the whole toolbox. The Center for Humane Technology points out 6 key ways our brains get hacked. Notifications trick us into thinking something trivial is urgent. The infinite scroll fuels that wanting loop we just talked about without ever really satisfying us. All that multitasking actually makes our memory worse. And then there's the darker stuff. Algorithms learn that fear and anger get more engagement, so they feed us more of it. It's a system that thrives on making us compare ourselves to others and traps us in bubbles that just tell us what we already believe. Okay, so we get the psychology. But how does that turn into the cold, hard code that runs our lives? How do you actually turn human behavior into a formula that makes money? I mean, it's one thing to talk about these ideas, but how do the biggest companies on Earth actually put them into practice at a massive global scale? Well, check this out. This is a leaked formula from TikTok, and it's an incredibly rare peek behind the curtain. It's basically an equation that turns you into a number. Every single thing you do, a like, a comment, how long you watch a video, it all gets plugged in and assigned a value. The algorithm isn't a friendly guide. It's a relentless machine, constantly calculating the perfect thing to show you next to keep you right where you are. And here's the crucial thing to understand. The game has changed. It's not about getting you to click on one ad anymore. The new goal is stickiness. They're playing the long game. They want to build a deep, unconscious habit that keeps you coming back day after day. And trust me, they are getting scarily good at it. Just look at these numbers from Facebook. They built a new model based on what users said they were truly interested in, and bam, look at the results. All these technical terms, accuracy, precision, recall, they all mean one thing. The algorithm got much, much better at predicting what would hit the bullseye of your attention. And the business result of that? A 5.2% boost in total user engagement. Now, that might not sound like a huge number, but for a company with billions of users, that is an astronomical amount of extra time and attention. And that, right there, is the powerful financial incentive that drives this entire system forward. So, we've seen the playbook. We've peeked at the code. But what's the actual cost of all this engagement? What's the price we all pay, both as individuals and as a society, for living in a world optimized for clicks? One of the most obvious costs is the internet outrage cycle. You know how this goes. It follows the same pattern every time. A clip, usually with zero context, goes viral. It causes this huge immediate emotional reaction. Then there's this intense social pressure to take a side, right now. The online mob dishes out its punishment, and then, way later, the full story comes out. But by then, nobody cares. The algorithm has already moved on to the next fire. It rewards what's fast, not what's true. And this happens because of a fundamental feature of our brains. We have a negativity bias. We are hardwired to pay more attention to threats and bad news than to good news. An algorithm doesn't have a moral compass. It just learns that fear and anger get clicks. So that's what it feeds us. The personal costs are just as staggering. Research shows all this multitasking can weaken our ability to focus, it can make our memory worse, and make us more impulsive. The endless, perfectly curated feeds are a recipe for social comparison, jealousy, and anxiety. And maybe the most insidious part is what happens when we finally put the phone down. A Stanford psychiatrist calls it a dopamine deficit state. Our brain gets so overstimulated that when we stop, the real world feels dull and gray, leaving us anxious and unable to enjoy simple pleasures. Now, I know this all sounds pretty bleak, but this is the most important part of this entire discussion. You are not powerless here. There is an escape plan. Let's talk about how you can take back control of your own attention. This is the fundamental weakness of any algorithm. It can only learn from your patterns. It feeds on your predictability. The moment you choose to be unpredictable, when you pause instead of reacting, when you put the phone down and go for a walk, you starve the machine of the data it needs to control you. You remind it who's actually in charge. One really powerful method is something called a dopamine fast. The idea is you take a clean break from your biggest digital drug of choice, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's the news, for at least a month. This gives your brain's fried reward pathways a chance to heal and reset. The result? People report less anxiety and a renewed ability to find joy in simple real-world things again. And you don't have to go that extreme. Here are 5 practical things you can do right now. 1. Create friction. Delete the app from your phone. Make it just a little bit harder to access. 2. Set an intention. Before you open an app, know exactly what you're going there to do. 3. Curate your feed. Ruthlessly unfollow any account that makes you feel bad or just sucks you in. 4. Use app timers to set hard boundaries. And 5. Just be mindful. In the middle of a scroll, pause and ask yourself, why am I doing this right now? Sometimes that's all it takes to break the spell. Look, at the end of the day, these platforms are masters of persuasion, but they can't make your choices for you. They can nudge you, they can tempt you, they can suggest things, but the final decision to keep scrolling or to stop, to react or to reflect, that still belongs to you. The power has always been yours. The only real question is, how are you going to use it?